Alright, staring at myself is going to be kind of weird. But this is the only way it's going to work. Hello! I should have opened with that. Hello everybody, Boxstar here. This isn't really a vlog, because this isn't really... Well, this is kind of about my life, but... I don't know. I apologize for poor camera quality. I wanted to use a better camera, but... so I'm just using the one on my computer. And... it works. Though I'm using better mic quality. I got... this guy, so... Anyway, let's get to the point. I'm wasting time. Nobody cares about this. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Fixing the mic. So this is specifically made for Vox Populi, so if you don't know what that is, this is really directed at you. But for those of you new, hello. My name is Boxstar, Boxstar9215. I'm a member of Vox. I've been a member of Vox for a very long time. Not as long as others, but long in terms of it's been over a year. I joined sometime in April. I think either the beginning or end of April. I forget which. And I apologize if this has weird cuts. I kind of want to cut out the weird silence where I'm gathering my thoughts. What to say? I kind of had this better outlined in my head. This isn't scripted, so it might seem kind of disjointed in places. I apologize if there's weird ideas in places. But this is just a video mostly explaining my experience with Vox. Both the positive and the negatives of Vox for new players, for old players, and just kind of open up discussion, I guess. Don't really know what the goal of this is to be. I just had a lot on my mind about this lately, because it's been a long time since I've played on Vox. I used to play it religiously, but let's just start out with who I am on the server, which is nobody important. But I started playing Vox in April, as I've already said, and when I first started out, it was a very overwhelming, confusing experience. Vox was my very first multiplayer server. I'd never done multiplayer ever before. So it was kind of a weird experience. But it was a lot of fun. But it took a little while to get used to. I had no idea what commands were. I didn't know anything. I was total Minecraft noob, if people still use the word noob, which I'm sure they do. But, and so I log on to Vox, it gives you the whole spiel of walking up the hill, going through the portal. Now we're in the spawn zone, go into wherever. And the first time I was on Vox, I starved to death many times. Many times. I had no food, no way of getting food. My whole mission was getting out of Valeria Beach. The place is huge, and it's very well put together, but is very disorienting and very confusing to get out of for a new player. I kind of know Vox really well now. I can navigate it, no problem. But when I first started, I was like, "Where am I? What am I doing? What is this place? Why?" That was my first 2 or 3 days on Vox. It was just complete and utter confusion. I remember going into the Nether and dying and losing everything and just freaking out and being stuck in the Nether. It was just awful. I hated my first couple of days on Vox just because of how confusing it was. And it didn't need to be confusing. But it was. But it was still a lot of fun somehow. No, it wasn't. When I finally... figured out the wilderness command /wilderness. That's when things started actually kicking off, because I could actually find food and make a house and all the stuff you want to do in Minecraft, mining and such. So I believe that would be a lot of people's first experiences. Most people I talked to had a really hard time figuring out Valeria Beach. That's just because some people just hadn't played servers before. That was the very first one. So that was kind of my first experience. When I got out, I built a little house, had a little fort where I kept all my valuables that was broken into, and then I learned how to lock things. And it was just a progressive sort of learning experience through Vox, and I had a good time. The thing that attracted me first on Vox, when I had the house set up and I had a little fort, and I was kind of like, oh, this is how I do farming. I had played single player before, so I knew what I was doing in terms of general Minecraft stuff, but when it came to multiplayer stuff, that took a little while to get a hold, especially Townie. That's a whole other. That didn't start for a long time. But the very first thing that I fell in love with on Vox was archaeology. These days it really isn't the same, but back then it was just like you dug and dug and then you'd get something. I remember one of the first things that I remember getting was a ancient creeper egg, and I had no idea what it was. I was like, what is this magical thing of magic? And so I started asking through chat. I was like, I got this weird thing. What do I do with it? And they were like, oh, archaeology. And so I went there, looked up the book, looked up the rules, looked at what I had to get, and oh man, I just fell in love with it. I was obsessed with digging and mining, and it just became this whole thing. And I make these really deep stairwell type mines. I called it chunk mining, even though that's not what chunk mining is. I learned that later, that chunk mining is just going straight down with like a spiral staircase. That was always a bit treacherous for my taste, so I made it a stairwell instead, and it was a bit better. Back then, you could find things easy. You didn't have to be at bedrock level. You could be at like 30, and you could find creeper eggs and blaze hearts, no problem. Like, it was not even an issue. So that was the first thing I fell in love with on Vox. And to this day, I still have this giant mine right next to my town, and it's one of those things I show to new people and be like, I did that all on my own because I was really bored for 3 months. Not even 3 months, it was like 2 weeks. I was just digging constantly. People would probably find that really mundane, just digging, but it was kind of a therapeutic experience. I would just put on music and just listen to it in mine and have a good old time, you know. It was just a way to take my mind off of how, like, crappy things were, because I was kind of going through some kind of hard times. But I don't want to bring the video down with that kind of nonsense. Vox is a place where I could kind of take my mind off stuff, and it was fun. That's the one thing I can say definitively about Vox. It was always for the most part, it was fun. So that was the first thing, was archaeology, and then I learned about Townie. I had this like I said, not scripted, so I'm going to do that. There's probably going to be a lot of jump cuts and stuff. The first person I kind of met was technically Epsilon, who is still there to this day. Really cool guy. I really like Epsilon. But another first person I met was Nabber, and Nabber kind of taught me how towns worked. He was the guy that was just like, okay, this is Townie Command, this is how you start one, this is how you do plots, this is that. He showed me this, he linked me to this page of all these commands for Townie, and I was just like, oh my god, no! I have to learn this now! And I did, somehow. I got the basics down. There's like really fine-tuning technical shit that I didn't worry about, but for the most part, I got Townie down relatively well, and I was kind of proud of myself for that. But that was my first experience with Townie, and I started getting that down. And then I had this person called Mitch101AA, who I still remember to this day. I didn't mean that to rhyme. But he was the first person that made me think that I could actually make a town, and make a successful one at that, make a really big one. And he got banned like 2 weeks later for breaking a honeypot, so yeah, he wasn't the best guy, but he gave me confidence that I could do something. My town started out called as the Tar Pits, and then I realized that sounded stupid, so I went with Avery Island, and then I realized this isn't an island, so I changed it to Harrowdown Hill, and it's stuck. So that's kind of the history of my town, and since then it got bigger and bigger, met more people, got more plots. It just like, but I think it really started taking off. Not when I met Mitch, but when a new guy named Nergman with Order came fresh off the boat. I think he was on for like a couple weeks before he met me, but he was like looking for a town. I was like, I got a town, you want to come check it out? And he was like, sure. And when I met him, we just started doing all these various projects with him. We made a graveyard, we made a chapel, made a nether place. I already made a light altar that looked freaking stupid. Made a shop, made a community shop that eventually turned into my house. But that was kind of when my town started taking off, was when I met Nergman. And then several more people started coming. We started getting this influx of just all these different people that were looking for towns, and it was this really exciting experience. It's like, wow, I'm gathering up a community of people, and there was Maniac, and there was, I got a Skype message. I don't know if the microphone picked that up. Yeah, there was Maniac, there was Kataria, those a major three people I had in that town. There's probably one more. There's Dagger Kid, but he never really helped out with that much stuff. But it was the maid quartet that we had. Oh, and sorry, Iceheart. I totally didn't mean to forget her. But there was Iceheart, Nergman, Kataria, and Maniac. And one day, Nergman comes up to me. Well, he doesn't really come up to me. I just see him kind of putting stuff around. I'm like, what are you doing? And he just tells me, we're making the Temple of Time. And I was like, oh. This was going to be like one of the biggest projects that we undertook. Trying to make a replica-ish of the Temple of Time, and we just started working on it for a couple weeks, and it came out amazing. Again, it wasn't perfect. It could have looked a lot better. It could have made it out of like quartz or something, but it was non-creative. It was survival. We used cobblestone, and to this day, it's one of my favorite things that we've ever made, and it's the thing I'm going to keep when we do a map changeover. So that's kind of just the history of town and my experience with Vox, and those were kind of the golden years. From there, things kind of started nosediving after we made the Temple of Time. No real big projects were made. People stopped coming on as often. The town became kind of a ghost town. People that joined kind of left a month later. And the only people that really left my town now, like there was a point where I had about 30 people living in my town, and then now there's only like 2. It's Maniac and Nergman, and neither one of them get on anymore. So I don't really get on anymore either. But that happens a lot with towns, even the biggest towns, like Gamer Soul's town, Eminem Froggy's town, even Larry Beach. Has all these people. None of them come on except maybe 10. And that's it. And it's really sad how it's like that. I really wish it wasn't like that. But it's just people, they lose interest with that sort of stuff. You know, not everyone. I'm not saying that's true for every single person. Not at all. But it was true with my town, and it was true with a lot of other people's town. It sucked. Let's get off of that subject and actually move on to something a little bit more relatable. And the things that I really enjoyed about Vox, which was the community. I met some really amazing people, and it wasn't just Nergman, it wasn't just the people that were in my town. I met some awesome people that I still talk to this day, 1 year later. I met Hammy. That's a whole story. I don't know if I want to tell it. The thing about the internet is things can be kind of awkward and weird. And the story with Hammy is a bit awkward because she's much younger than I am. And that can raise some red flags. And I understand that. And I try to keep some sort of distance without being an asshole. But it sucks when that kind of stuff can come into play. Because I had no idea how old she was when I met her and was talking to her. And it was just all hunky-dory and cool. We were just being friends. And then I was like, oh, I'm not going to say how old she is for her privacy since it's going up in the public domain. But she was much younger than I was. And I was like, oh, ooh, So it made things rather difficult, but I wasn't exactly doing anything creepy or awkward. It's just something I had to keep in mind. So Hammy is a person that I still have fun with to this day. She's like my little sister. A lot of people might find that creepy too. You know, there's really no way to keep it from being creepy for people. It sucks, but I met Hammy. I met a person named Dracow, who I still know to this day. Gamer Soul, Eric Tatafu, Nabber, Logger Chris, Daniel Shadow, and so many more people that I'm forgetting to name, and I apologize. Guardian Eevee, who was staff for a while, he was really cool, and we loved hanging out with him while he was still on the server. So many people, it's just too many to name. Dagger Kid was a part of my town, really loved hanging out with him when I could. There was just so many cool people. People that I met later, like Lady Michaela and Carolyn Cruz and Brofizzle and just so many cool. Bucius Crimson. I was really close to Bucius Crimson, and it was really fun hanging out with these people. Some people I kept in contact with, others I didn't. Some I still see on the server to this day, and I say hi, and it's really nice to see them again. The thing about the community is that even though there are some very positive memories with it, there are some pretty harsh negative ones too. There's a lot of drama on Vox. You're going to find that with any large community that keeps growing. You just get so many different kinds of people, and there's going to be so many combating personalities. And people shout about, oh god, drama! It's like, you're still surprised about that. That's kind of the bad part. I see a lot of staff really upset about drama, and I understand why, because they're the ones that have to deal with it. Something in my eye! And that could be frustrating, and I understand. Like, I had a short stint for like a month where I owned a server, and I hated it. Unless you're really up for it, don't own a server. It's a pain in the ass and not even fun, unless you have the right resources to do it. I didn't, and it sucked. I'm aware that staff do the best they can, and they're not perfect, and they do whatever they can in their power. And there's going to be a lot of people that hate them for the decisions they make. That's just natural. Some people are going to be like, why did you do this when you did this before? It seems kind of like favoritism. Why are you favoring donators over standard non-donor people? And they've gotten that criticism a lot. And I do see where they're coming from. I did have those sort of experiences when I was starting out. I was a builder, and I was asking questions, and nobody really bothered asking me. And then I became a supporter or an investor, and my questions were answered like that. But I can say they've been working really hard to make sure that never happened again, and I have to say that is not true with all staff. I want to make that perfectly clear. Not all staff are like that. All staff really try their best, and they got a lot of chat to sort through, with chat being as explosively crazy as it is these days. It can be very hard for them to deal with tickets and people crying out in public chat, fights and drama starting out. It's a very tedious thing for staff, and I'm surprised that they've even bothered keeping their position with how insane it can get. Outside noises, inside noises, Skype, oh god, jump cuts. Hopefully I can make that jump cut work. This video isn't really about a specific thing, it's really just documenting what I think about the server. I'm not really trying to make any suggestions about how it could be better until now. I've kind of said my piece about the positives and what I really love about the server. I didn't want this to come off as a video about me trashing the server and calling it terrible, because it's not. It's awesome. But there are things wrong with it. And here's why a lot of people are afraid to address them, is because of blind people that just go out of their way to defend something just because the staff does, or just because it's Vox and they think that it's perfect. It's not. It's not a perfect server. It's never going to be. I wish it was. It's not. The main thing that I want to talk about right here, and I know it's been like 20 minutes, but the main thing that I really want to address, and it's been here ever since it first happened, and that was the beginning of Markiplier. Markiplier helped set the server off, but his influence was a double-edged sword. He brought my attention to it. The whole reason I knew about Vox was because of Drunk Minecraft. I'm sure so many people are like that as well. They come to the server because they think they'd see Markiplier, or they think they'd hear from him, or they just thought the server looked cool because of the things he did. And then they get on, they're kind of disappointed. They're like, oh, I'm never going to see Markiplier on here. Or, oh, half the things he did are never going to be things that I'm able to do. That's a lot of the people that get on Vox, and that's why Vox got such a steep intake of people, but that intake was matched with a lot of people leaving a week or a month in. And it's not necessarily true for every single person that joins. Not everybody came because they heard of Markiplier. That's not true. They also came because they saw it on Planet Minecraft, for what have you. They just came on because they wanted a cool server that was well reviewed, but most of the reviews came from people that saw it because they saw it on Minecraft, and saw it through Markiplier. And I don't really know what I'm trying to say with this, other than Markiplier was a very good thing for the server. It helped a lot of people discover it. is also kind of a bad thing for the server, because you get so many people going on and saying, where's Markiplier? When is Markiplier on? Where can I meet Markiplier? Is Markiplier here? You see that at least once or twice a day. It might be less. When I was on, you saw it at least once or twice a day. It might have changed since then. It might be a lot less. As I've said, I don't get on nearly as often as I used to for varying reasons that I'll address later, but I want to focus on this Markiplier thing. Here's one of the reasons, is the Markiplier influence, and how so many people get on hoping to see Markiplier, sometimes even just troll by shouting Markiplier quotes. The most common one being, hey, everybody wants to bone zombie. That one really gets to people. It gets to me too. It's very disrespectful. It's very, very crude in the reason. It's funny because Markiplier says it is because he knows Zombie. He's friends with Zombie. That's why he can say it. It's fine if Markiplier talks and says that kind of stuff, because A, he's drunk, and B, he's having fun. He's having a good old time. He's just messing around. And then Latin smiting him is her having fun and her messing with Markiplier and having a good old time. That's probably one of the better drunk Minecraft episodes. It's where everybody participated. And it truly is one of my favorite episodes. But moving on from that, I think a lot of people see that, and that's what they expect out of Vox. And that's all they expect. I know it's what I kind of expected to see. It's a very foolish thing to think that you're going to get on and just see chaos happening all the time. That's not how it works. You get on and you play Minecraft, and you just play Minecraft and you experience the features. You don't get on hoping to see Markiplier. You don't get on hoping to get trolled by Latin. I've had my fair sharings of being trolled by Latin, though. Those were in the past as well. But Markiplier, I guess I've already said it, but I want to make sure this comes out completely clear and not me hating Markiplier. I don't. It's very frustrating what he did, but it's not necessarily his fault. It's not. It's not his fault that a server that he likes to play on got popular and people got on there because they like Markiplier. That's not his fault at all. That's people. And that's just a community, and that's how people behave. And it sucks. That's Markiplier's influence. And that's something that didn't really bother me after a while. I just kind of got used to it. And I was like, yeah, here's another guy asking for Markiplier, whatever. You can easily ignore chat. It's not hard. I left for varying reasons. One is that my computer sucks. I have a laptop. It's getting old. It couldn't really handle the FPS anymore. It started tanking even on short viewer distance. I'm not sure why. I think it's just got so much information on it, and it's just getting to be kind of old. I want to replace it eventually, but for now I'm kind of stuck with it. That's one of the reasons, not directed at Vox. I didn't like the direction Vox was going with a few things. I felt like a lot of the events that they were holding kind of were getting bad. The Valentine's Day event is a key example. I don't like what they're doing with the Harvesting Festival this year. Vox started making things impossible. They really did. Anybody who denies that knows more than I do. But from a very basic stance, like, imagine somebody getting on and only being on for a week and wanting to participate in these events, and they can't because it's just so freaking ridiculous. This is why I felt, what was the last event they had that I really enjoyed? I think it was the Summer Festival. It was a really well done event, and I really enjoyed participating in it. And that kind of made me come back to Vox for a while because of how well executed it was. They don't always mess up their events. I'm not trying to say that. There are several events that were really well done. The winter event, 2013 Fall Harvest Festival, that one was a lot of fun because it was very simple and easy to participate in. The Halloween Festival, while it had its issues with mob spawning and several other things that were kind of wonky about it, for the most part, it was a very fun event to participate in. And the Christmas one was probably my favorite of all time. This year's Harvest Festival and the Valentine's Day event seem to be kind of flops. And it's disappointing, but we're lucky that they even do these things in the first place. So, It's not really something that I should complain about. I'll be right back. I lost my train of thought. I had to go out for a second. It's very easy for me to forget what's going on. The events, right. That's what I was talking about. God dang. I really do enjoy that they put on events and kind of bring on these things. Like I've said before, it's kind of like Animal Crossing meets Minecraft. It's a really nice experience, but only if they get it right. And I feel as if the way they're doing it is they're making these really, really valuable things occur, but they're making them near impossible to get, and they give it kind of a short time frame. And I'm sure there's some super special secret way that they don't tell you to do things, but that's not really fair. Come on. I've had Zombie come on several times when everybody was complaining about how the heck do you do this, and he comes on and it's like, guys, it's simple. What are you doing? And you just feel like a moron, but at the same time, it's not exactly straightforward. It's kind of cryptic and weird, and it's like, you would only know that, Zombie, because you made it. Moving on. The Harvest Festival basically is you hardly get anything from harvesting crops, or so I've heard. I've only participated in a day. You get most of your stuff from eating things downtown, like pumpkin pie and bread. And that's just fun, just standing in one place, drinking and eating. Nausea. That's just fun. It's not. Not when you lag as much as I do. But I think this year's event kind of got borked, because I really loved it last year, and this year it's meh. The way they could do it is they could make the things sort of novelty, so that it doesn't matter if a lot of people get them and get a lot of them, because they don't really serve any sort of purpose. They're just kind of there as collector's items or fun little things. Like, I believe they have, like, tokens out of item chests. That's a really cool concept. It's too bad it's impossibly expensive and kind of annoying. I know we have 2 weeks to participate. I think they should really capitalize on the trading card idea if they're going to do that in the future. My advice, if I may shoehorn this in here at random, definitely follow up with the trading card idea. Make that sort of thing of value, and make it so there's kind of like, I know I'm going to sound like a nerd here, but kind of make it like Pokemon cards, where you have common, uncommon, rares, and like holographic, even though I don't think holographic really works, but make like common, uncommon, rare, ultra rare, that kind of stuff. And make each one more expensive, so you really have to work. You can get a crap ton of common ones, or you could get that one really rare one. And then people can trade and mix that. That could be a really cool concept if they really want to bank on this idea of, I know they're posters, but bank on this idea of trading cards. At least I think that's what the idea is. I might be wrong. But they should really capitalize on that, because I think that's a really, really smart thing to do with Vox. That's my 2 cents. They could really, really do something with that and put this whole other thing inside of this already great server. Make a trading card aspect for special holidays. And of course still have armor and all that for people who don't want to participate. Although I wouldn't see why not. It's a really cool idea. But that's my 2 cents on that. I feel like the events could be kind of planned out a little bit better. I feel like they could maybe open up a discussion with other players, with the community. Be like, hey, what would you like to see? What would you like to see be available for the events? And there's a way to make it so the novelty things that don't really do much are worth a little bit less. So you could make it so the seed spawn rate is kind of high, and then you could trade the seeds up for like more valuable things, like the vegetables, like pristine carrots and potatoes and etc. And then those things are worth the... There's ways to do it. They're doing fine. I'm not saying it's broken or anything, but it could be done a little bit better. And I really wish they'd come to the community with the ideas, because they could... Vox community is very smart. There's a lot of smart people in Vox. And it's not just staff, though the staff is smart too. There's a lot of smart players that really know what they want and they want to see happen. I'm not saying I'm one of them. I'm very stupid. But there are a lot of smart people on Vox who can provide a lot of really creative and cool ideas, and I think the staff should come towards them kind of a month before they plan the event and say, hey, what would you like to see for the event? Like, they have the event and what they want to happen in the event set up, and what would you like in terms of items and all that good kind of stuff, and prizes and rewards. I feel like the people have a pretty good idea of that. So that's another thing I've kind of been disappointed in lately in Vox, is the holidays have kind of been eh. They're not terrible. Like I said, the summer event was actually rather fun, but the harvest one was a bit of a disappointment. So the next thing I want to talk about is, while the community is is one of the best, I think, in Minecraft, in multiplayer Minecraft. It really is. People outside. It really is one of the best communities out there. I mean, I haven't been in many communities, so I can't really say that for certain, but it has a lot of amazing people, but at the same time, there's a lot of really crappy people there too. That's just how communities work. The bigger your community gets, the more it attracts really negative people, really trollish people, different personalities that will headbutt and collide with other personalities. That's why people says there's been a lot more drama on Vox. I'm surprised that people are still surprised that drama happens. I mean, I wish it didn't happen too. Don't get me wrong. I don't like drama. But it's gonna happen. The bigger Vox gets, and it's continually getting bigger because it's kind of in the pipeline. It's like a YouTube channel that's reached popularity. It's just gonna keep going up. No matter what decisions it makes, it doesn't matter. Unless it completely dismantles everything, it's never gonna fail. I'm not exaggerating that too. That's just the nature of things in this day and age. But the more people you get, the more you're going to get negativity, and the more drama is going to happen. I think the best thing for people to do is to handle it, is to ignore it, is to kind of just block it out. I got involved with a lot of drama in my days. I started drama, and I'm not proud of it. It's just the nature of things on the internet in general, not just Minecraft servers, but any community, any fan base will have a lot of people that are either negative or combative or passive aggressive and what have you, all that sort of stuff. That's just the internet, and that's just something we have to put up with. And I feel bad that staff has to put up with that, but I don't think they should have to put up with it alone. But I think that when a very combative person starts happening, everybody that isn't a staff member needs to shut up. And I know that's impossible. But if you want my advice, when you see somebody that's being very negative, combative, trash-talking, name-calling, swearing, just being an overall very negative person, don't engage. It's not even the phrase, don't feed the trolls. It's the phrase, don't get involved in something you don't need to. Let staff do their jobs and take care of the situation. That's all you need to do. Alright, so I know this is going kind of in weird places, and it's been all over the place, and I don't really know what I'm trying to say with this video other than just kind of touch base on a few things and kind of explain what's been going on with me, even though nobody really cares at this point. I just want to kind of talk about the server because it's an important part of my life. And a lot of people may think that's sad or stupid, but it's not, because I've had interactions with real people. I've met real people and done things with them that isn't just Minecraft. Things like this that seem so trivial and silly to people is very, very important to others, and it can be so much more. And people, I've actually would love to meet some of the people that I have on Vox, and I might get that opportunity pretty soon. Like, that's the level we're talking about here. The people that you meet across the web, you can actually maybe sometime meet in real life. So I hate it when people talk down to people who get really into these sort of things, because it can be much more to them, and they just don't get it. I don't get sports, but I don't talk down to people who like sports. Love whatever you like. Just don't be an asshole about it. My tips for life. So, again, this has been very sporadic, but one more thing I want to say. relating to communication, before I stop this, because this is going on for way too long. This is almost an hour-long video, and I don't want that to happen, because this would be a really pain in the butt to upload to YouTube. So, one last thing I have to say about Vox. I haven't been on in there for a while, so I don't know how this has been, but I know the last time I was on, a lot of things like this were happening. Communication. It's never been that great on Vox. They might have improved it since then. Like I've said, haven't been on for a couple weeks to a month to a couple months. So it might have improved. But if it hasn't, it needs to. I'm talking about communication between the staff and the players, and I'm talking about communication between staff and staff, like owners and staff. I remember this one time where this change was implicated, and the staff, like helpers and admins and mods, had no idea. They didn't have any idea what was going on. They were just like, this just happened, and we have no idea what's going on. I don't remember specifically what happened, but I bet any of the staff will be able to confirm that this happened. They're like, oh yeah, that thing. That happened a lot. And they do the best they can, and I know everybody's trying really hard, but that's definitely something that I hope has improved. And if it hasn't, it needs to improve. Because I feel like that's where a lot of drama stems. I know what that's from. When the Emerald and Diamond servers linked up and bans were transferred over. That was a huge just screw up. And admins had no idea what was going on. They were like, oh crap, what happened? And everybody's yelling at them. It's like, we don't know, leave us alone. I felt so bad for that happening. Oh, it was a nightmare. Oh boy. I just hope nothing of that degree and caliber ever happens again. It's so hot. I'm getting so hot right now. Oh, I'm going to start wrapping this up. But that's just one last thing I wanted to say. Communication can always improve. The more transparent you are with your server, the more people are going to feel comfortable around it. You don't have to tell them the technical lingo, mumbo jumbo. Just tell them what's going to happen and ask them if they're okay with it. Some things are mandatory changes. If there are bugs in the system and exploits occurring, let them know why you're doing it, why you're making such changes. Because there's been so many times where the change is implemented, but there's no explanation as to why. And people are left confused and sometimes rightfully frustrated and angry. So before you make the changes, give a couple of days heads up. You don't necessarily have to ask your community if it's okay for them to do it. You know, that it's ultimately up to the owners if they want to put in a change. But let people know in advance. Give a couple days in advance and say, hey, we got to change this. We're sorry if it causes any inconvenience, but it needs to be changed. I feel like that's a lot better than just like, oh, it's different. And if it's like a mandatory change where it's just like you discovered it, and if you don't change it, the whole server's going to spontaneously combust, tell them that day instead of waiting a couple days, because that's happened too. The whole Emerald Diamond syncing up ban thing, it took 3 or 4 days for any sort of official statement to be made. And it was bad. It was a train wreck, and I really hope nothing like that ever happens again on Vox. I really hope nothing like that occurs. So that's basically the last thing I gotta say. Communication is key in any community. You need to be open and honest with your community, and you need to let them know when things are happening. So yeah, that's the last thing I really gotta say on the matter. I've really loved my time on Vox, and I'm gonna come back whenever I feel like playing Minecraft. It's probably it's my go-to server. I've been on many other servers, and they don't have the same feeling as Vox, and I really don't know how to describe it. It's the community, it's the plugins, it's the general feel of it, it's the creativity, it's the constant bringing of new things to keep it fresh and fun. It's the amount of people that you can communicate with. Yes, there's difficult people, but there's also some really awesome people that you can talk with. There's just so many good things about Vox. There's plenty of bad things. There's glitches. There's things to be frustrated about. There's things that change with no given word. And they're always... And the thing about Vox is they're always trying to improve upon themselves. I've noticed that over my year of on it. Like, they recognize when they make a mistake and they try to make good on it. And that's something I really, really respect. So, yeah. This has just been a random sporadic video. I'm sorry it's so long. Thank you for sticking around to the end if you did. Dear God, what are you not doing with your life? What am I not doing with my life? But thank you very much for watching this. If you're on Vox and you're a newcomer or a veteran, I hope you enjoy your time and your days on Vox. I know I have. There are many times where I've been frustrated and had to quit for so long, and it's been both server related and personal related. But I don't regret any time that I've been on it. And I guess this is just a video saying thanks. Thank you, Vox. Thank you, Zombie. Thank you, Latin. Thank you, all the staff who's ever helped me. Foxy, December, Evie, miss you, man. So many people. I'm sorry, I'm blanking. Joshy, JPW. So many people. Dana. Just so many people that have helped me out in the past and made my experience so much better. And so many of the people that I know that are already listed in the video and I don't need to go into. I apologize if I didn't name you and you're on staff. No knock to you. I'm just blanking on names and I apologize. But you're awesome too. Every single staff member. Where's my finger? Every single staff member is awesome. Never forget it. So yeah. This might have seemed sort of like praising Vox, but what are you gonna do? I like it. It pisses me off a lot, but nothing's ever perfect, and I want people to remember that. So I'm done. I'm done talking. Move on with your life. Have fun. Have a good time. That's what I'm doing. Thanks for watching.